before I was like, I might jump through the shower, I look a little bit like, and then it didn't happen.
Oh,
What
you
actually
haven't even
happened?
jumped through the shower? Yeah, right.
No, I jumped through the shower yesterday, and today's just, what actually happened was like I've got a bit of a funny tummy after the weekend. The tummy took a bit of a hammering, and
So you've got diarrhea and you haven't showered.
I've got diarrhea and I haven't showered, and I'm sorry. And you know what else? I've broken my toilet brush. Like,
Jesus
what kind of
Christ.
aggressive skitties do
Oh,
we have to clean up to break it to, I had
Bean
the
is coming in hot to
I'm
this
so
episode.
sorry. I'm so gross, but this is
no.
well, it's been a hell of a weekend, let me tell you. I had a real shit-centered start to my Saturday. I woke up, stumbled out to make coffee. The first thing I'm presented with is a giant dookie on the carpet from the dog that's staying. And like it had been like ironed out as well. And I'm like, something has flattened this into the carpet and no one had stood on it. So I'm like, what's rolled this out? Like,
Oh,
that's a concern.
God.
Which we could never identify. So that remains a horrible mystery. So I cleaned that up and then I was like, and that was the first thing I started with in the morning. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Frankie comes out and she's like, Toby pooed on my bed. It's like there was a cat shit on the on the bed linen. So everything then had, oh my God, I started my day gagging and then the cat puked on the floor and then we found a dead bird in the sleep. And I was just like, when
Oh my God.
will this
No,
end?
too much.
Yeah.
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 I think you should
And
do
then
a
you
parasite
ended the weekend.
cleanse.
Then you ended the weekend.
Yeah. I've got a funny tummy.
I went for a run this morning. I had an interesting last kilometre home. I was fine.
A lot of clenching.
You made it.
Lot of clean. I mean, it's not my first rodeo of a near emergency situation.
No.
So,
As we know, I read your book with my ears, which was very, very helpful, Brodie. Well, we'll intro you in a minute. It was very, very helpful, Brodie, because it was great to have you tell the stories to me as well. And I'm just like, I just love that there's some fantastic shit and body stories in here. There's a lot of bringing humanity with the fore and just like kicking straight off into it.
It's beautiful. Well, we're not going to the whole podcast won't be about shitting.
No, but at least this first 5
start
minutes.
it off. We'll do a good 5 minutes of poo
Clearing
talk,
out.
get it all out of the way.
actually, while we're on it, then here's a couple of questions for you, Hannah. Sorry, are you married or?
Oh no, I'm divorced, but I'm
Okay.
in like my first sort of in a relationship again for the first time in like 5 years. And I'm sort of 6-7 months in. No one's more surprised than I am. Oh no, Mum is probably slightly more surprised. She doesn't know how anyone could put up with me, but here we are. It's tolerant, man. And so I'm navigating this whole like, oh God, I'm in a relationship space again. So yeah.
But my question, no, thank you. That's some good information for me. So when you guys were in the early stages of the relationships that you are in,
I know
when did you do your first fart in front of you? And then when was it okay? Like, because I've got IBS. I'm a busy bowel movement girl, and I'm in a new relationship, and he's so amazing that he wouldn't give a shit. Excuse the pun, but I'm still.
But then
just
once you start, the floodgates are open, especially if you've got IBS.
Yeah,
you got
When do you
IBS.
stop?
Sometimes it's a bloody trumpet section at 6 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, I don't know if I want anyone else to hear that.
You're like, I want to keep the love alive, but I also love the honesty and comfort of being in a relationship where everything's fine. And because especially when they're fine. So
And I do massive farts.
Do you know, I can always tell when Art and I are just waking up in the morning, I can tell who's awake first because I hear a fart before I hear anything else.
Morning.
It's like, that's so nice. Good morning. And then the other one farts, sort of say like, good morning back. And then we start the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole new world. But
so yeah.
The
What
first
do you
time,
reckon, Maddie?
I think it was pretty early for me. Like it would have been a few months in, maybe 3 months in.
And was that
Probably
like,
did my first
that was
batch.
like one that was kind of like it slipped out or you physically announced it with a little bit of pressure?
Oh, look, I can't remember, but it would have been, knowing myself, I think it would have been, I thought it would be quiet, but it was loud. So that's what I think would have happened.
Yeah.
And then, but it's quite good because it's an icebreaker. Then you think, oh my God, that holy
done
shit
now.
that just came out, and it's happened. We can't go back. But it is good because then it's like, oh my God, we can The first time is done. Now we can just
relax
let it
a
out.
bit.
Well, to a point.
See, I'm in an intermediary phase where like he loves a fart and he's like he really, really wants me just to announce a good loud fart in front of him. He's just like, it's like you don't even love me. Like, can you just I want to hear you fart, like, and I do fart in front of him, but I don't announce it, and so I'm like, I need to get that point where it's just a good, loud, proud, like a real good toot right in front, and he'd be thrilled, and like, we'll just be like, I just need to go for a poo, just don't listen, so we're kind of that like. We're all fine with the bodily functions, but I need to announce one, and that's what I'm sort of building myself up to. It's ridiculous because of all the other things that have been shared.
And, Will you ever get to a level where you're brushing your teeth, he's taking a shit?
No.
Oh, no need. Sometimes you got to keep them
me neither.
Like wheeze, fine. Wheeze are fine.
Wheeze, fine.
But then a door for the shitters, I think.
Poo particles, that's a different story. That's not, it's not, I'm not having that.
There's no need.
Unhygienic. It's unhygienic.
That's what I've always been a big advocate as well for I get this from mum though, a separate toilet. Like an ensuite with a toilet in it. You're shitting in your shower. Well, I have shit in my shower. So, but
not intentionally.
For you.
Should be separate. Should be a separate little room. Separate little toilet.
Yeah,
but
I
then
agree.
There's just so many doors. That's what we've got at the moment. And it's sort of like the bathroom then leads into the toilet bathroom, which then leads into the laundry. And it's a bit like, oh my God, must I open and close 5,000 doors just to get out of the house? You know what I mean?
But then if you, how is this even?
No, come on. No, it's all in. We're here now.
There's nothing worse though than if you've gone to the toilet and you've done an accidental poo, which is always great news anyway, and then you to have a shower because it's a busy morning. You've taken a shit, the room smells. You've got to heat it up with a shower.
Yeah, it's steamy. Yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah. God, I wish I cared. I really wish I cared about that, but I just don't.
Well, sometimes
you're in there. You're in there.
I do a poo. I shut the lid. I get in the shower. Don't think twice about it.
Yeah. And once you're accustomed to, whatever changing aroma has happened in that room, the worst thing you can do is go out and come back in. You've just got to commit to the room.
You've got to commit to it. You're in there.
Sort out your ventilation, understand it will resolve itself in time, and just get on with it. That's
hope that you didn't have lamb the night before and carry on with your day.
Oh, the worst, right?
The worst.
Oh.
I tell you what, in my former life when I got married, we had the most wonderful wedding. Like we still talk about it, like, God, that was a great day. What about those little mini sliders? Great day. But we did serve asparagus with the meal. It was a marquee wedding and we had these sort of like fancy trailer toilet things, as good as you can get. But there was a lot of conversation amongst the guests about the asparagus wheeze aroma.
Because it's instant.
I would say,
I find it fascinating.
It's extraordinary. Like, how does that happen? But anyway, and so like, I'm not thrilled that that's a lasting memory for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's annoying, eh? You want your wedding to go down as, they had enough booze and it was great and they didn't take too much time for this. It was the buses were on time and
dance floor was popping.
Weddings all kind of blur into each other though, don't they? Like once you've been to a bunch of weddings in a season, like they're all amazing and great, but they're all weddings, which you have great fun at and they're lovely. But, it's not very often that you remember one for something. So I actually think it's quite good because then people will be like, the asparagus wheeze one. They'll be like, this is why shared experience.
This is why aromatherapy exists because like there's so much connection to aroma in your brain with certain like moments and events and feelings and sensations and stuff like that. And that's why a smell can take you right back to somewhere. And I just like to think that when someone who went to a wedding smells their own asparagus wheeze years later, they'll look back and they go, oh, great dance floor. What a band.
It's a great day.
What a day. That was a hell of a wedding. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Bean, I'm going to go rogue here and I'm going to say like,
should we intro?
Do we just get into it? Do we just go for it?
Look, we wrote Brodie a nice little intro.
Please read it and then copy and paste it and send it to me because every time someone sends me, can you write a bio? It's one of the worst things you're going to do about yourself.
Oh, you'll love this then. We've done it for you.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm Hannah, co-host of the show. Here's Maddie. Maddie, go with the bio. Go with the intro. Go with the bio. Go with Brodie's new bio.
Let's introduce our guest. Okay, so today on Untidy, we're joined by Brodie Kane, if you weren't sure of that already. She is founder of Brodie Kane Media and is the producer and host of 2 amazing podcasts, The Girls Uninterrupted and Kiwi Yarns. She's a journalist, she's a broadcaster, she's a presenter, she's the author of her memoir, Woman Uninterrupted, as well as a passionate runner with a long history of competing in endurance sport, surf lifesaving, and a stint in the bloody army. She's built a career on heart, hustle, and showing up with radical honesty. And she's the kind of person that leans into her hard-won resilience to cut her own track through life by keeping things truly bloody real. Brodie, thank you for coming on for a chat on Untidy.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of bits, there's a couple of lines in there I'll need. Thank you.
Yeah,
there's
couple of bits to snip out.
There's a couple of little ones I'll palm off of my own. Thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
When we were preparing for this podcast, I mean, I thought I knew quite a lot about you, Brodie, just because we've been, friends in passing for a few years. But as I was doing more research, I was like, fucking hell, what hasn't this woman done?
Right.
Honestly.
Had a boyfriend until 3 months ago. That was, that's my new thing.
Well,
that's ticked off.
Let's start there, because I was going to talk about it later, because I don't want to be like the most interesting thing about a person is their personal life and, and if they're in a relationship or not. But what I enjoyed listening to recently was that you actually got matching tattoos in Bali.
Yeah.
What did you get?
It's just, man,
come on.
It's a little wave. It's just a little wave above our elbow.
Oh, that's
but
cute.
No, it's actually, truth be told, one of my very good friends, Xander, who we love to go to Bali together. So it was actually originally like me and Xander and Mum going to Bali together for Mum's 70th. And then I went and got a boyfriend, and then I invited him.
You say that like I ruined everything. I went and got a boyfriend.
Yeah. And then Xander and I have talked about getting a tattoo over there the last couple of times we've been there. And then this time we got one. And then the boyfriend was like, oh, yeah, I'll come along too. So then I was like, well, that's all good, because if it turns to shit, it's just Xander and him have a matching tattoo.
Got it.
True.
Yeah.
And it's just a wave as well.
It's
like there's
just
no
a wave.
names, there's no initials. It's okay. Like it's not as if you're going to start hating the ocean if you break up,
Yeah.
Certainly not you. Yeah. So no regrets on that.
No regrets.
No. So, well, let's go, because you've spent much of your adult life single before finding your relationship more recently. And that you've kind of had the experience of truly knowing the advantages of independence and joy of singledom with that sense of maturity. And I have to say, having had a marriage and come out of that and being a whole grown up on the outside of that, you're like, this is actually, you can make such a great life. So there's obviously advantages and disadvantages to being in a relationship. But with all that understanding, how's it influenced your approach to being in a relationship now?
Well, it's all very completely new territory to me, and people sort of go, ha, and I'm like, no, it's not, ha, it's true. I actually have not ever had a proper boyfriend in my entire 39. Oh, no. Because Mum even joked the other week when she was like, oh, look, you passed the 3-week phase. That's now your longest. And I'm like, Mum, below the belt, not helping. Not helping. And people always go, oh my God, the insert cliche like, but why? Or, oh my God, as if you've got the answer. As if it's some sort of, as if you've got the answer, but as if there's some missing puzzle piece to your life, which I feel like it's funny because I reckon in my 20s, you met guys or slept with guys or whatever, and there was always sort of, I guess, like a little glimmer of hope that maybe that one might be the one that might text you, or maybe that one might be the one that would show a bit more interest other than a couple of bangs. And you sort of had that glimmer of hope. And then as I sort of entered my 30s, that really subsided. And I was like, oh, quite a lot of these dudes suck. And I don't really have time for them. I've got time for
text me.
Yeah. So, I'm 39 now. I have loved my 30s. I've loved the real sort of kind of clusterfuckery, beautifully way I've figured out who I am and what I stand for and where I fit in my own life. And that's always still a work in progress. So with all of that going on, whether it's career and family and your friends and travel and adventure, there really wasn't time for me, I didn't really care enough to be like searching. And that's not to say, because people go, oh, you've got to put yourself out there. To anyone that tells you to put themselves out there, tell them to fuck up.
Yeah.
And because you are out there, you're out there. So it was always a matter of being like, well, I am out there. I'm here. It's always been something that I've thought that would be awesome. I've always wanted to have someone that you can share life with and share adventures with. But I've also been so happy in every other facet of what I've been doing. And then like this year, I kind of the volcano's been a bit dormant. So I sort of like fired her back up and had a bit of a slutty season, which I'd really, really, really been enjoying. And then I just met this really nice gentleman, and you're like, oh. So,
hello.
And it's all new, and he's so amazing. And it's been the crazy thing, which is not crazy, by the way, is that it's just from day one, it has been easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I know we all women go, oh, where are the games and where are the this and where are the, no, nothing, none of that.
You just want to enjoy each other's company. You know where you stand. You can have open, honest conversations, and it's not a big thing.
Yeah, and there's no fuckery. You don't have to waste your time with the fuckery.
And to go back to your point, Hannah, as well about like your independence and things like that, I think that I'm pretty stoked that I don't think I will lose any of that, and I don't think you have to. I actually don't think you have to, and I think, passing no judgment on anyone in terms of when they moved into relationships and that, but I think an advantage of diving into one this stage in the piece is that you've had some pretty valuable life lessons. You do know exactly who you are. You're not figuring out who you are in your 20s. You know exactly who you are. You know exactly where your values sit, and you have a good idea of what you kind of maybe want life to look like, but with the kind of that extra sort of flair of that independence, which I think is probably an awesome asset to a relationship as well. So,
yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And you're doing long distance. How are you finding that?
Again, since it's all new territory, I have nothing to compare it with, which is probably quite a good thing. But no, it's actually been all good, because it means it's not that you wouldn't be making an effort, but you've really got to like nurture the time that you have. And he's traveled all around the motu. And so as we record this is my first time down in his area. Well, not my first time in his area, obviously, but my first time at where he lives. And so it's great. You just navigate it together, don't you?
Yeah, ideally. I do want to know what's the origin story, without giving away too much detail, but like, how did you guys meet?
Well, actually, he slid into my DMs.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. We love the confidence as well.
Yep.
Like, sometimes you just got to go out there and take a shot at what you want, right?
Absolutely.
I've been on Tinder this year. Like, I'd burned those apps to the ground multiple times.
I was going to say multiple times.
Multiple times. But I had pretty solidly burnt them to the ground the last time around. And then one of my mates earlier in the year was like, hop on Tinder if you're in your sort of slutty era.
The secondary hoe phase.
Yeah. Secondary?
Tertiary. Who's counting?
Tertiary.
PhD level? I don't know. And so he must have seen me I popped up on his Tinder, but I was in Rotorua. And then so he replied to a story of mine when I was asking for a hair and makeup artist. And he replied saying, look, I probably can't do your hair and makeup, but would you mind expanding your Tinder?
Oh, cool.
That's good. That's really good from him.
I like it.
And I just opened up the profile and went, yep, sure, fine, done. Go.
I love that.
Well, I actually didn't even need to. I did go and match with him on Tinder, but I was like, no, we just could talk here on the Instagram.
But it's nice to see the information that you can get. See how they've curated the profile. If they've thought about curating the profile, and you'll be familiar with the idea that a lot of men don't curate it. They simply take one double chin nostril shot from inside of the car and consider it done.
or some of them are just over curated, aren't they? You know,
Yep.
it's
Some of them I think are
tricky to
using
find it in
AI
between.
now.
Oh, no, they are. Oh,
Are they?
100% in so many different ways. Yeah.
I had a fella come to my house. In fact, got a couple of my mates were there. And it was a sort of a, I guess we call it now an AI fish, a catfish, an AI fish. Yeah.
You've got to be sharp. Like, you really, really have to be pretty sharp. There's some crazy shit that goes on.
Fuck, it's a wild world out there, isn't it? It's a wild world.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like, what do you think is going to happen? You know, if you use AI, like, you will meet someone in person and they will know.
Yes.
Like, it will be obvious that you have now then used AI.
They will immediately be afraid. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? But there's just, there's some odd fruits. There are some bloody odd fruits. What do you find is like the biggest challenge of being in a relationship and like negotiating life with somebody else?
I don't know.
You're like,
I don't know that yet.
Haven't encountered one.
Great.
Yeah, I haven't got anything I can report back, but
do phone in. Let us know.
At some point,
us a voice message.
We'll just pop a little bonus voice message on the end and say, I actually have encountered a challenge, and here it is.
No, he's literally the got the most beautiful nature and is a real champion of women, a real supporter of me. So
God.
I love it. I love it. Oh,
well, I would like for him to be able to have his anonymity for as long as possible.
Absolutely. We'll just call him
Makita. No, he's got a nickname.
Oh, Makita. Oh, great.
Yeah, because he's a builder and he uses Makita power tools. So Makita is that's okay.
Yeah, I love a practical man. Oh,
yeah,
isn't it? It's the best, isn't it?
The best.
I got to watch my one swinging an axe and chopping wood in my driveway on the weekend. I was like, oh, got my very own lumberjack. Isn't that the best?
Yeah. So you seen that guy that what's that guy's name?
Bradley Thor. Bradley Thor.
Yes, Hannah has seen him. Brodie.
Huge fan.
Yeah. No, he's got some good messaging out there.
He's great. He's a feminist man.
Yep.
Who's a wonderful lumberjack, and
I respect something about chopping wood, isn't it? Something about chopping wood. It's just like a real. It speaks to our biology.
Loins.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Immediately, directly to the loins. I know. I've just become a real basic bitch when I see a man with an axe in his hand, I tell you. Who's going for the wood, not carrying it in a threatening manner. I tell you what was tricky the other day. We had to go to Bunnings together. I love going to Bunnings, and like, it was our first Bunnings trip. It was adorable. I'd bought the wrong axe for the firewood job. I bought a chopping axe, not a splitting axe. Huge mistake. And anyway, we had to take it back into like. Have you ever tried to like return something like an axe to Bunnings? I'm like, how do we carry this into the shop in a non-threatening manner? Like
over the shoulder, nonchalant.
Like how do you? And then you look like you're thinking too hard about it, and then you look suspicious, and then we
never out in front.
Yeah, we got in the shop, and we were immediately being looked at by the woman who's greeting. How they like welcome you to Bunnings. And we're like, listen, we're just trying to like return the axe.
I'd like to return the axe.
Yeah. The wrong one.
Yeah. God. Anyway,
okay,
we digress.
Chopping wood, we love it. Returning axes is niggly. But Brodie, I do want to talk a little bit about your career. Okay?
Yes.
So hustling is obviously a big part of what you do, because I'm just constantly amazed at how you're pivoting, you're just carving your own path, you've got your own media company that seems to be thriving. And how did that all kick off? So this happened during COVID, right?
Yes, yeah. And so like I went to Canterbury Uni, I studied to be a journalist. I worked in obviously more direct journalism and whatnot. So the first big chunk of my career was pretty like news focused. And then I went overseas, I came back, and then I still came back into pretty serious news focused stuff. And then in the sort of latter part of my broadcasting career in the I guess in the mainstream media was more sort of moved into sort of that more entertainment area, which I really enjoyed. And so I'd worked on Breakfast, And that was my last job that I had at TVNZ before I moved back to Christchurch to work on the Hits radio station. And they wanted us to sort of try and turn it round down in Ototahi. And we were doing that. But as is the case in the media industry, one day you're in, one day you're out. You have to learn in it that it's not personal, and that it's the same in the corporate world. As depressing as it sounds, you are merely a cog in a wheel. And so we literally just found out one day that we were no longer, our show was being disbanded. It was just a random morning. I remember it well. And then that was about like 6 weeks before, I think, COVID would have been, I think it was like, when was COVID? Was March. The lockdown was March, wasn't it? So early February was when we got the doomed white envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I have no regrets. I have no ill will you understand and appreciate decisions that are made. But at the time, going into sort of, as we know now, a pretty crazy time of the pandemic and the media industry figuring out what it was doing, and people were losing their jobs left, right, and centre, it became really apparent really quickly. It was like, you're not going to get a job anywhere because there are no jobs, and no one's going to leave their job at the moment. And so with numerous bottles of gin and a lot of time on my hands in lockdown with my mum, discussions were had where it was like, she was like to me, you have always said to me that you've always thought how cool it would be to go out on your own, that you've always thought that people have held you back, and sort of you've had bosses over the years that have never sort of, not all bosses, but you've had your fair share that have never allowed you to just go. And that, and I think that one of the things that I actually don't care whether this particular space that I'm working in now is my forever space. I understand that, in a broadcasting sense, everyone might have a shelf life. I'm more than aware of all of that. But what I'm so happy about in working for myself now, when I look back 5 years, I go, no one can dull your shine. No one can tell you what you can and can't say, and no one can tell you that you can't do something. So at the time, terrifying, real confidence knock, feeling like you weren't, like you go through these periods as well where you're like, maybe I am actually not as good as I think I am. And I don't mean that to sound wanky, but you believe in this, in your craft, and you believe in your storytelling ability, and you love it, and you love it. And so in the first 2 to 3 years, there was so much of that where it was like, you'd get rejected for jobs, or you'd see that other people would get things over you, and you'd just go, actually, okay, shit, well then maybe I'm not. So you'd go through all of this, but I also just kept chipping away, and had, a wonderful group of sort of friends and people that I really trusted in terms of building. It's not necessarily like building your brand back up, but actually building it in a way that sort of you figure out where you want to be in the space. And what was really, I guess, if we think about it now, really fortunate is, weirdly, my redundancy came at a time where everyone was, the media industry hadn't fully monumentally shat itself. So I had a bit of time up my sleeve to establish podcasts and establish a way of being a person that is a brand. And it was all pretty much, making it up as I went along. But then you get to a point where you've sort of had a bit of a head start on everyone and figuring all that out. So I go 5 years in, I know exactly who I am. I will not, there are things that are non-negotiables. There are things that I will do. There are things that I won't do. But ultimately as well, the most rewarding thing is that I am the architect of my own success, and I have been able to, again, make up as I go along, but figure out things that I really enjoy doing in my life, which end up becoming part of my mahi, which is a dream, right?
That does segue nicely into your podcast, babies, the Girls Uninterrupted and Kiwi Yarns, which are, chart-topping, award-winning podcast. Like, you've got to be so incredibly proud of that. But like, I also want to hear about, how do they satisfy your desire for what you want to put into the world?
I think that's always evolving, right? And I think that, like, I remember when I was working at the Hits, and podcast's been around for over 20 years now, but still, it's funny to think that even it's such a massively saturated market now, and it is one of the biggest mediums in the world. But I remember it would have been like 7 years ago, I was like, I want to start a podcast, because I you saw just formulaic radio shows or TV shows where, boom, let's just chuck 3 people together that we perceive to have these roles, and boom. And I was always just like, oh, the podcast space looks like it can be so much more flexible in terms of, why don't 3 people that actually like each other sit down together and talk about some stuff? I don't know, or that know each other or have similar interests or something like that. And originally I actually wanted it to be kind of like a news-based podcast, but with a humorous spin on things, having had kind of a bit of experience with that in 7 Sharp and whatnot. But then it ended up being that myself and Caitlin and Gracie sort of came together to do actually a podcast about a bloody reality show, which was called Heartbreak Island. And it was like the Temu version of Love Island.
I hosted the first season, but no, Brodie, I never went back. I didn't know what it was. Okay, this needs to be carried in.
I did not know about that. I did not know.
I hosted the first season and I never went back. So
that's what we bloody was that the one that I've now got all hot. Wait, I'm going to take my hoodie off.
So feel free to talk shit.
Maddie, when you got in there, at what point were you like, oh God, what have I done?
Straight away, Bean. So it was with Mark Dye. You know Mark, don't you, Brodie?
I know him very well. He's a good friend of mine. Yes.
Yeah. So it was Mark and I, and it was when the first evening when we were explaining to the contestants what was happening, and it was when I had to say to this poor girl, because the whole premise of it was kind of like Tinder in TV. So they all got pictures and a short bio of the boys and the girl, and the boys got the girls. Then they would rate them from who they thought were the best. But fast forward to the end, and they were trying to be like, oh, but look, actually, when they got to know the girls, it wasn't the case, but you had to wait until the end to kind of get the morality part of it. And so at the start, I had to say to this poor girl, unfortunately, you were rated the least attractive.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was really brutal. And it was at that point, and I was like, I don't think I'm the right person for this, but hey, we're in it now. So what are you going to do?
To get myself out of that hole, though, as well, hey, we've done our fair share of reality TV. And I was interviewing Rebecca Gibney a few months ago, and because she hosted Sensing Murder, and I've always been like, like Sensing Murder. And then I said to her, would you go back? Would you host it? And then she went, well, would you? And then I was like, well, yeah, because we've all got mortgages to pay. But no, that you're right. That it was. Yeah. It was.
Look, you live and you learn, don't you? You live and you bloody learn.
But you do. But it was. It was a funny old time where every network was obsessed with matchmaking shows and thinking that they had to one up, the OG theme, which was just The Bachelor,
Yeah, and then it was getting a little out of hand. It was getting a bit out. Then we had Fuckboy Island. They were just like, how can we really just like mince up these islands? Really just add in as much drama as we can.
Truth be told, I watched one recently, and it was the most wholesome, pleasant of the islands, like a heartwarming island called Virgin Island. And
I didn't watch it, but I've heard of it.
It is, if you're going to watch one of the islands, that's the one to watch.
I've heard it was actually like really, really sweet, and yeah.
Yes.
It's on my list. I just need to do it when the kids aren't in the house.
Because there was a
but
gap
no,
in the market for a while. He wasn't there for just
Yeah.
like, let's just bring the islands down a notch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we were getting a little out of control. Let's just
too
simmer it down.
many islands. But no, so sorry. That's how gosh, I digress. That's how bloody the Girls Uninterrupted started. It was called the Heartbreakers, and then
That's
yeah,
right.
and then after that, we were like, can we start our own? And they were like, well, we don't really have any resource for you. And we were like, we'll just leave us be. So they did just leave us be. So we just started it and we recorded it. I think they said you could do it fortnightly, and we just started doing it weekly. It was called Girls on Top, and it just chipped away. It just chipped away, and it did become this thing where at the start, it was never like, it wasn't necessarily, I don't think we were as business savvy where it was like, there's a gap in the market, but we were like, how nice to have 3 women talking about things that women want to talk about.
Well, you don't get that in radio. I mean, is there an all-women radio show ever? Anywhere?
No.
Don't think so.
No. I mean, gosh, can the women press the buttons? I don't know. Gosh, shock horror. But, so it did become this thing where women were like, gosh, it's like listening to our mates every week, and it's a safe place to do so. And we were always figuring out on the fly how much we could say and what we were saying and what we were like. Oh my God, I'll never forget. I don't even know how many years in it was. We were like, we started talking about hemorrhoids, and then we were like, oh, this is actually too far. Like, hundreds of messages being like, oh my God, for fuck's sake, thank you for just making me. I've had kids and I've had hemorrhoids and and so we were like, at that point, it was like, yeah, well, we have to talk about everything. We can't just project out that we're these. You don't want to project out that you've got all your ducks in a row, as we all are navigating lives as women. But I would say, I guess the sort of early couple of years, it was probably not as, there wasn't as much probably as there is now of some weight behind political issues, social issues, and us deciding to use our platform for good, or things that we deem unfair, unjust, trying to champion things in the space for women and minorities, being blissfully aware that we are 3 white women. I've always thought, and particularly as well in being self-employed, I take it really seriously that with privilege comes responsibility. And I think it's probably also part of my whānau and the values that I've learned from my parents and what I know from my grandparents, and that I should and will always fight. And what that looks like is obviously evolving at the moment, but it just seems to me now that as someone that has this space on a podcast, on social media, wherever it may be, that it would be irresponsible not to use it. And I don't care if it pisses people off, because we are well beyond that. And so I take deep pride in knowing that we have a place that we can do that, but I should be doing that. So it has evolved with Kiwi Yarns. That started as a passion project. I shoved it down to the bottom because I had all this other stuff that were more priorities, and then it's only really been in the past year or so that that's become priority, because that's something that I am really good at doing. And it's like, hey, that's your love. You should be doing that more. So that's getting way more love, and that's reaping the benefits as well, because it's beautiful to tell other people's stories. So
yeah, and that has been noticeable as well, how far Kiwi Yarns is coming, and it's interesting that you really, like, it is a case of what you put in, you do get out, right? And it can be really hard with podcasts to grow it and have the time to put into it what they need, but seeing Kiwi Yarns just blossom, I mean, it's incredible. And the live shows, amazing.
yeah, the live shows were amazing, and it was an opportunity to bring Kiwi, we'd done Girls Uninterrupted before, but to bring Kiwi yarns into the mix. And I just always had this vision where I was like, it should be multiple guests, kind of like a sort of Graham Norton style show where each guest comes on, they bounce off each other and stuff. And it went so well. And so that's, obviously something that I'm sort of beavering away at, thinking about what that could potentially look like. The other thing being, you're still competing in a heavily male-dominated space. And that's not me woe is meing, but that is just the reality. It is the reality that there are more men in a space and are given more opportunities to succeed. And you just gotta fight a bit harder. I'm okay with that. I'd love it if it was obviously a level playing field, but I don't mind fighting harder if it means that people after me don't have to.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think, when you have that resilient nature in you and you have had to hustle and you have had to push yourself and be tough, you've got that in you to sort of lean back on. There's one thing that you spoke about, you wrote about it, you spoke about it on a podcast, you've written about it in media, was about the abortion that you chose to have, if you're happy for us to go there now, because, and like being outspoken about that, I think, particularly in this time, is so important, where decisions about women's bodies are being made by a group of white middle-aged men, which is frankly fucking terrifying. You even confronted protesters outside of Christchurch Hospital, I think. Why is it important for you? Like, I really want to hear your words on why you think that is important to use your platform in that way and bring the topic of abortion into conversation.
So when I had my abortion, I felt such a deep sense of shame, but it was weird because it wasn't like, I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong, but the society that I was in would deem that I'd done something wrong. I felt horrible, but it was like, why do I feel this way when what's happened has nothing to do with anybody else, and it doesn't have to do with anyone outside of your close people? And so it was at the time, it was, it was weird because you were thinking, why do I hate myself? But I couldn't. I'd had unprotected sex. I'd actually had the morning after pill, and somehow,
A went into B somehow.
Yeah. So, but I don't even have to explain that. I don't even have to justify that. I don't even have to share that story. And so that happened, and I was must have been about 25, I think. And so that happened. It was a really intense process and time, but I carried on, and I was at work, and then I traveled overseas, and I was always aware of how we just had this kind of awful attitude towards it, and knowing the experiences that my mum had been through as well. So when I came back, and I can't remember, must have been 2019, and I was running around Hagley Park, and I saw these signs, these dudes with these signs, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? You're standing at a place where everyone that's coming here has some sort of vulnerability, irrespective of why you're here. And I was so incensed because I was just like, yuck, like you have no business standing here. You can have those views, but you have no business standing here. So I ran around the park again and I was like, I rang Mum, and I was like, I'm going to have to go back. I think I'm going to have to yell at them. She's like, well, if you're going to do it, think of what you say properly. I was like, all right. And so I did, and I ran back, and I was like, and this was it? No, it must have been 2019 or 2018, 2018, anyway. And so I ran back, and I was like, I'm going to film it, and I'm going to put it on Instagram. And so I did, and I yelled my body, my choice about 5 times. And then people were cheering, and I was like, my womb has nothing to do with you. Go home. And then sort of keep running. And I chucked it up on Instagram. And even then, not that follower count matters, but I had way less followers than I have now. And it still to this day would be something that I had the most messages I have ever. I couldn't keep up with the of messages.
Oh, God.
And there might have been, I don't know, 10 awful ones, thousands of, you don't know how much what you've just done means to me. And all of these women and men sharing stories of how they have felt over the course of their lives because they've had to make that same decision. And it was from that day that I went, okay, this is also bigger than you, but this is something that you can keep strong on. And I had big discussions with my family. And so that was when we all decided to go and counter protest. And then the counter protests, like I remember like my mum and my dad and my auntie came along. And then the counter protests got bigger than their ones. And so that became like, that was, and I just was constantly showing that, which again was just like people going, thank you for really sort of taking one for the team in terms of not being afraid of what we've all been afraid of, which we're all kind of like, what? Some bloody, some sort of weird looking dudes with signs of what we're scared of. We're scared of something that we've got nothing to do with. And I said to one of the guys one of the days, I was like, so you're obviously religious, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, cool. I was like, I'm not. But I don't stand outside church on a Sunday with a sign saying Jesus isn't real. But I'll just get I'm just over here doing my thing. Why don't you just go home and do your thing? Like me in this situation, you're not going to help me. Don't talk shit. So obviously all of that was around the time, and I still hadn't shared mine publicly. Then when Roe v. Wade happened in America, it was like, oh God, that was Trump round one, right? And we all sort of went, oh dear God, this couldn't possibly get worse. And then fucking America went, hold my beer. And so then was when I was like, you make these decisions about what hill are you going to die on. And again, pick your battles, and you can't pick them all and you can't fight them all, but there are ones that you just go, I will die on this hill. And so that was when the decision was made to talk about my personal experience, because no one had sort of said, I've had one. Everyone was starting to feel confident enough to speak for this. And then I did, and then it was out there, and it was on the front page of the Herald on my whole face was on the front page of the Herald on Sunday. But I think what happens is you become like the cause and the people that you're helping massively outweigh what any of those other people think of you. It's so irrelevant when you think about the importance of what you're trying to do and who you're trying to help. It's the same today, speaking out for the Palestinians. I could write the abusive messages. I could write the abusive messages that pro-lifers you could write it all now. Nothing can hurt you, because why does that? It doesn't matter. So you get stronger and stronger because, as I said before, and as cliche as it sounds, it's bigger than you. So it's just, and to have the opportunity to do it is something that, going back to that, I should do. So it's less scary the more you do it.
What about when it's not a social cause? Like you mentioned earlier on in the interview when you got made redundant and you said, I know it's not personal, which is true, but also when you're working in media industry, so much of your job is you and how you are perceived by the public and what people think of you. Essentially, it is important in the media industry. So how have you kind of reckoned with that? Because I know with these causes that you're passionate about, that's okay because you're standing in your power and you're confident in your message. But what about when it's just personal towards you? For example, Breakfast TV. I mean, Maddie McLean would tell me some of the shit you would get from Joe Public. I'm talking about him, or just like basically anybody working in breakfast. And he said it's really, really intense. So how do you deal with that side of it? Or how did you deal with that side of it?
Again, today I couldn't give a shit. couldn't give a I mean, actually, no, that's not entirely accurate. I'm deeply concerned with how fucked adults are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so worried about the mental health, the state of adults in which we've become a society where it is socially acceptable to just be absolute pieces of shit in comment section. So I am concerned. And I know that, there's some great work going on around the before 16 and the protections that we should have around children with things like social media. I'm like, well, what are we doing about the adults? I'm so, I often ask myself, I'm like, were we always assholes, but we didn't have comment sections, therefore we didn't know that the world was full of this?
Or have we gotten worse?
Or have we gotten worse? And I don't know the answer to that. But yes, in the early days, it's shit. It's horrible. It's horrible for people to call you names. It's always horrible for people to call you names. But then again, like you get to the point where you could predict it. Like mine were always like, I always just had dudes that thought I obviously looked quite masculine and like a dude. And so that was like the biggest insult. Like, oh, she hasn't had a shave today. And
it's
you're like,
oh. You're at a primary school. Truly.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. Like, who are these fucking people?
It is fascinating because, like, the funny thing about that one is that this particular thing I'm referring to was on Breakfast, and this one guy he would just comment on the Breakfast Facebook page almost every day on any clip that I was involved in. Clicked on his profile, obviously, didn't I? Go on. I'm like, oh, he's like, he would have been probably like maybe 19, 20-ish. It's like, cool. Your workplace is on here. Right. Ring the workplace. I'm like, hello there. My name's Brodie Kane from Breakfast. I'm just interested to find out what your online bullying policy is under the Harmful Digital Communications Act. I was just throwing big words out there. And this guy was like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're referring to. I was like, oh, you've got an employee named XYZ who is relentlessly bullying me online. And I just wanted to know what your policy is around this in terms of a workplace. He sort of was quite taken aback, but he was like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, he called me back about 20 minutes later and was like, Brodie, I'm so sorry. I was so shocked to get your call. I know exactly who you are. And I just needed a moment to process because who you were talking about is my son. And he was just like, I don't even know what to say to you. I need time I'm so sorry that I'm so embarrassed. And in the end, his son rang me and apologized. And I said, do you know what? I said, you're probably only apologizing because your dad's made you. You probably still think those thoughts about me. I couldn't give a shit what you think of me at home. You can say whatever you like. But what makes you think that it's actually okay to go onto my workplace Facebook page or anyone's and say those things? I said, now imagine you've got a photo on your Facebook of your girlfriend. I'm assuming that's your girlfriend. Imagine if someone was saying to her what you were saying to me. And I don't think there's enough of this like actual response. No one's taking responsibility for their behavior online because they think they can just tap away and that there's nothing behind it. Having said that, the thing that I hold even more worry about now, like to sort of answer your question, I couldn't give a shit again personally now. Mostly people that follow me are amazing. And I'm usually delete and block. I'm delete, block, delete, block, delete, block. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a scrap and I still really thrive on a scrap. But like it's the right time and it's when I've got a real zinger to really fuck them up. And then they'll get blocked still. But I'll make sure I get like bang, bang, pew, 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 pew in there. Or sometimes I like just a simple fuck up.
I like that too. It's to the point. It's got a hit to it. It hits.
So there are those moments. But so I don't like if there've been times like I can assure you I don't read comment sections of any of our news if there's anything to do with me about anything, because why would you bother? What I am worried about massively is I think there is a huge rise in online hate, misogyny. We know, we can see it with our own eyes. And I think, unfortunately, some of the big reasons that we're seeing that, probably not just online, creeping into everyday life, is because we have world leaders who have effectively endorsed some really dangerous ideologies and behaviors, and that has also brought them into power. So it's given license now for people to be racist, misogynistic, anti-trans, or insert all awful things that we're seeing now. So there is a real darkness to it now that I worry more about than if someone thinks I've got 5 o'clock shadow or not, you know?
Yeah, but it's the internet reduces us all to avatars. And I think that's really having an effect on people now, because it's anonymity is a huge thing. It really brings out the worst in everyone, I think. It's anonymity on the internet, meaning that you can say and do whatever you like without consequence, and reducing the world around you or the people around you to avatars that you can just throw words at instead of actually engage like you would in the real world, where you would, most of the time, not all the time, you would never say something like that to someone's face. So it's a real perfect storm of shit online, isn't it?
And this is why now as well, not necessarily this is why, but they can also throw policies to dehumanize people further, and that's what we're seeing. Like, it's extraordinary. I don't even have words for some of the things you see happening on the world stage. You're just like, how the fuck are we getting here? How are we getting to this point where there's half of the population is in question of losing agency over the decisions over their own bodies and their own lives?
And I think that comes back to even that always will come back to going like, so you two would be the same. It's like, okay, well, what am I going to tell my grandkids? We might think that, we can hardy-har about boyfriends and talk about hemorrhoids and do these podcasts and have a lot of laughter and share stories. But ultimately, as well, having conversations more and more in a way that people feel safe to listen to these conversations, to be able to hold joy and sorrow, to be able to be happy and angry, and to be able to like talk about shitting yourself in the same podcast while sharing that fighting for women's rights is equal. Like this is the kind of stuff we will be able to say to our grandkids, you know what? I made 20 women feel comfortable about talking about hemorrhoids, and and now I earned $10 million being the new ambassador for Anasol or whatever. No, that's still a dream partnership. No. But
one day,
and I stood up for people, So there is meaning, as trivial sometimes as it might seem. It is important.
Human beings.
Yeah. The solidarity is so important, whether it be hemorrhoids, whether it be women's rights, the solidarity, and then the sense that, no, you can be vocal, you can speak up, and we can all stand together on these things, because there is nothing more important than keeping people, bringing more humanity in, more and more humanity in, remembering that, like, we are all one fucking species. We're all humans, and we just get so disconnected from one another. But yeah, I mean, like, it terrifies me, because like you see that happening and you're like, that is knocking on our door.
Yeah.
It is
really
knocking on our door. It is terrifying.
Yeah. There's no better way to, you're right. It's not even knocking on the door. They've got the bloody axe that you took back to fucking
and they're carrying it in a threatening manner.
The door.
They're hacking through the fucking door.
Correctly hacking.
Shall we finish on like a bit of a high note?
Yes, let's lift it up. Right, back to waffle
before
stomping
we're
a shower.
Like, oh my god, they're hacking through our door with their fucking policy.
With their backing
It's like the fucking zombie apocalypse.
I know.
All right, where's Maddie going to take it? Let's find out.
Oh, look, it's going to be rogue. But,
just while you're thinking about, I've thought of the title for this podcast. I think we're going to call it "We Digress" with Brodie Kane, and I think
perfect. And it's a predictable question, but I think it is a nice little hopeful one. Ideal, like blue sky. who would be your favourite Kiwi Yarns guest? Who would you love to have on?
Oh, this sometimes changes a little bit, actually. So, but if I was going to give you my ideal Kiwi Yarns guest, it's breaking the rule. It doesn't have to be a Kiwi, but they mostly are. But my dream guest to interview would be Sir David Attenborough.
Great answer.
It just gives me goosebumps saying his name, actually.
I just adore him. Sometimes, obviously, he's still thankfully alive and well, but sometimes there's the odd time of recording. Oh my God. Yeah. Sometimes there's the odd celebrity death that you're like, oh, got me that one, and I open Instagram with caution whenever I see something about David Attenborough. I'm like, no. Oh, he's still fine.
Yeah.
He'd be a goodie. He would be a goodie.
Incredible.
But I mean, at time of recording, another dream guest. I've always wanted to interview Jacinda Ardern, and I got to do that. I'd love to do that in person next time, which she kind of was like,
say.
Yeah,
she did say she would.
She did. Yeah. Yep. I just interviewed. No. Just interviewed Pame Iti as well. He's been a dream guest of mine for a long time, and someone else that I'm really hoping for soon. You got to manifest these things. Is Helen Clark.
She'd be great.
She'd be good.
Yeah.
Love Auntie Helen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's finish on the manifesting note that we're gonna manifest Helen Clark for Kiwi Yarns. But in the meantime, Brodie, you're amazing. I love everything you do. I love everything about you. I think you're just incredible. So thank you so much for your time coming on Untidy today. We really appreciate it.
Did we cover like 3 out of the 80 things? Because I just talk and
that's great. But that's what we wanted. We just wanted a good yarn, and I think we've had one.
That's exactly what we delivered.
Well, and we started with poos and we ended with Helen Clark.
We started with 8 minutes of poo chat, which is exactly what you talked about. We could talk about poos and Jenny's at the start, and then we can also talk about social issues at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean,
I can't baby.
And I kind of almost want to just end on a mild apology, not really a mild apology for people that go, oh my gosh, she talked about her boyfriend. I'm like, fuck yeah, I talked about a boyfriend. And what?
Yeah.
And what?
Who's going to talk shit about you talking about your boyfriend?
I don't know.
I'm sure everyone's going to be stoked. He sounds like a bloody good egg, and that's what we like.
Well, not long after we hang up, I'll go swing out and pick him up from his building site.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you enjoy your mystery regional man, and we will be in touch again at some point, and hopefully I see you in person soon, Brodie.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you for the opportunity to chat, ladies.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Thanks
take care out there, Brodie. Thanks so much.
Bye, team.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untidy. If you enjoyed it, we'd love your support to keep making the show. The best thing you can do to help is subscribe by hitting follow in your podcast app and leaving us a little 5-star review. You can also now watch and subscribe on YouTube and check out how these millennials are keeping up with the cool kids on TikTok and the gram. Lastly, please share this podcast with your mates. It means that we can keep building this supportive community, keep giving you untidy episodes, and just keep doing what we love to do.
Don't forget to check out mybigmoments.com for kids' books that make your tricky job of parenting a whole lot easier. Untidy listeners get a discount at checkout, so just pop in Untidy for 10% off your order. Lastly, we would like to thank all of the good people who make this podcast possible. Flicker Williams and Joe Rocker at My Big Moments for the beautiful artwork and design, Maxine London Creative for editing this episode, and Lana Byrne for creating our social content. And to you, our listeners, Araha nui, take care. We'll see you soon.